topic is sports and fitness, and I'm really pleased with our very diverse panel of presenters who are going to talk about their path in their careers. And just so you all know, we have an informal presentation style, but usually what we do is I let each of the presenters give a little 5 to 10 minute talk about their path, and we'll just go through each one of them, and then at the end we'll have an open period for questions and answers. And just to let you know, we are filming, and it will be available on our website after this, so tell your friends who missed it, they can go check it out in a couple days. And another thing I like to do is just, I'm going to pass these around. This is an evaluation form. If you could fill it out on your way out the door, I would appreciate it. And so, do you have a preference of which order you go in? Is anybody? I'll let you go in the order you arrived. So, Susan came yesterday, so she gets to go first.
Oh, you're really first.
She's been here for 24 hours. And I'm really excited to hear your story, Susan. I don't know you. I met you for the first time today. And you work here on campus at Santa Barbara City College, and you're an athletic trainer. And I'm about the least sporty person you're going to meet. So I'm really excited to hear what an athletic trainer does. So without further ado, I give you Susan.
Thank you. This is my 19th year here at this college. And you know, my passion for sports started at a very young age. I have 5 brothers, and I was the baby. So I got to see them experience a lot of different sports, and a lot of different injuries, and I was like, why is he getting treated this way in the sense of his injury? And I just started getting very interested. Obviously, at one point I did want to be a doctor, but I didn't really know the understanding of taking out loans and all that kind of deal. So, you know, I was raised as you go to college and everything's paid for through your parents and you just get your education. So I started getting very interested as a freshman in high school, just understanding sports and the injury that happened and how to get people back. And at the time I was at a high school that had an equipment manager that was the athletic trainer. So they didn't really have an athletic trainer. And the males got to go first. So we were always late to practice. And I decided that, you know what, maybe I could be late to practice and all the other girls could not be late to practice if you taught me some things. So I started learning that way. And it worked out really well for the 3 more years that I was in high school. I was a softball player, and I ended up going to Long Beach State and was able to work with their sports programs. And that was my passion, to be around soccer and softball, and I really started to enjoy that. And I went to Long Beach State because it was one of the top schools for athletic training, and I already was pretty much set in my ways. I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to get in and out of school and get it done and start working. And I did a lot of who needs my help type of work. You know, it's networking, finding out who needs help with certain events where you can volunteer. And like I tell my students here that I teach, networking is huge, and dedicating yourself now to the ability to see as many different areas as possible and do 50 hours here, 50 hours there, just to get yourself exposed, really gets you to understand what you'd like and what you don't like. And so one of the things that I do for my class is have them do an observation so they get an idea of how early we come in and how late we stay and what we do during an event, so that it may be something they think they want to do, and then they get exposed to it, and it may be something they don't want to do. But I went to Long Beach State, 4-year degree, and then I decided to get my master's, and I ended up staying at Long Beach State for 3 more years and got my master's. Both of them were in physical education, now kinesiology, and it was in sports medicine, sports injury. So a little different than just straight athletic training, but most degrees now are kinesiology with an athletic training emphasis. And I absolutely loved the classes. They were challenging. The only thing that I really took out of the education was that I wasn't prepared to be in the workforce. And that's when I really learned the field. Being forced to learn it. Open a textbook, figure out what's wrong with someone. Because athletic training has to do with on-site immediate care. Something happens, you have to make a decision. Are they going back into the game? Are you holding them out? And it's just, anything can come up, you know, and obviously the same type of injuries come up a lot, but you have to treat someone individually. Their pain tolerances are different. The way that they handle being told they can't go back to play, the coaches, you know, all the things that you have to deal with, you have to experience. And so like I said with my class, I really get them to get their networking out there, volunteer their time at a high school so they can get exposed to all these different aspects of learning. You can't learn it in a textbook. You have to go out and experience and then use your textbooks to understand the proper way of doing something. So basically the types of jobs that I've had in this field, I worked at the high school level. I worked at the community college level other than here. I've worked at the 4-year level. I did an internship with the professional football level. And this is the area I wanted to be in. I wanted to be in the 2-year. I wanted to experience the different sports that were available. And I absolutely love it. And I've been here, like I said, 19 years. Don't plan on leaving. So that's my story.
Wow. Awesome. Thank you so much. That's great. Well, I have a lot of questions, but I guess I have to wait if I'm following my own rules. So I never know where to stand. Now I'm going to introduce to you Vanessa Isaac, who has a different story, but I consider an athlete as well. She started a company called Hit Brazil. She's a dancer and a workshop leader, and she has some very successful, she's an entrepreneur. She has some very successful workout CDs or videos, DVDs, and website, and I'm going to let you tell her story.
Thank you so much for having me here. As she said, my name is Vanessa Isaac, and my company Hip Brazil focus in Brazilian dance, music, and lifestyle, and in that fitness and the artistic aspect of that. I from Brazil, so I have an accent, so I apologize if you don't understand. You can ask me to repeat. Just to give you a little background, I was born in a very small town. Probably you know you're from Brazil, that's right? No, I know. A very small town that doesn't is not what you think about Brazil. It's called Anápolis, like Anápolis that you have here, but with one N. And there is no beach, there is no palm trees. Very rural area. There is a lot of horse and dogs and cats and chickens, and it's full of animals. So I was born in that city, but my family is from the state of Bahia. It's very, a lot of music, a lot of dance, a very artistic area with a lot of African influence. And I grew up in both places, the inland and also the coast of Brazil. And I grew up very shy, but I had a couple of passions, and that's what took me to fitness. I loved music. I played the piano, and I loved to dance. I started ballet at 6 years old, so that was one of my passions growing up. And then when I went to when I became a teenager, I explored, besides ballet, contemporary dance and social dance of Brazil, also theater. So my path was always dancing, and I didn't know anything about fitness. All that I wanted was more the artistic side of dancing. When I got to college, I had to make a decision what I wanted, and I was between communications and law, because my dad was a lawyer and he wanted me to become a lawyer. I said only if it is to break the law that I'm going to do law, because I have no talent, or you know. So I decided to do communications because it fitted with the communication of dance and music, all that I wanted to express at the time. So I finished college and I wanted to go somewhere. I was dancing in dance companies, and I was teaching already. I was 18 years old in the company, Quasar, that I was part of. So when I finished college, I decided I want to go somewhere, anywhere, right? Just to explore, to share, to learn, and I wanted to learn English. And a neighbor of my father told me about Santa Barbara. He said, don't go to Los Angeles, don't go to New York. My dream was to go to New York, of course, being a dancer, being to theater and being to music. I wanted so badly to go to New York, but I didn't know any English. So he told me, go to Santa Barbara. It's a small city, it's close to LA, you're gonna love it. I said, well, maybe I stay for 6 months and then I move out. Well, 17 years and I'm still here. I didn't want to live in my car in LA. But I started, one of my first jobs here were teaching dance class at the dance warehouse. In the first few months I got this job and I was super happy working and teaching the kids and the teenagers. And I was teaching contemporary Brazilian dance class. You still focus in the artistic part side of that. I started with 3 students. From 3 it became 4, the next week became 5, then became 20, and I was super excited because I was 20 years old and doing what I wanted to do. But people would come up to me and not talk only about the artistic part, because people came to me because they were in dance companies or they loved bossa nova and want to learn about a little bit more about Brazil, or they had a Brazilian boyfriend or girlfriend, or they were interested in being fit and trying to find something that was fun and interesting and different that they could dedicate as a fitness activity. So they kept saying to me, God, since I started your class, I'm such in great shape. I love it. It's so different of anything that we have in the clubs. So I was very lucky that people brought that awareness to me, because at the time I was not thinking like that. I had a friend, I just had met her, but she became a good friend and she worked with me. She still works with me. She said, Vanessa, I want you to teach at UCSB. So I went to teach at UCSB at the dance department as a guest and also at the recreation program. And the class were really successful there too. I had around 60 people in the room. We had to close the doors at one point, how successful it was. And from there, people kept saying to me, I'm such in great shape. I lost I don't know how many pounds, or didn't lose any pounds, but I feel so good. There is so much wellness that I feel. That's when I started to pay attention, and that's how I discovered the word fitness. Of course, I knew that dance is very athletic, but was never my focus. So from there, I'm like, okay, I have to learn more. I started to join different fitness associations, dance and fitness associations. I started to get the education that I need. I started to also rededicate myself to Pilates and really look at that from that point of view to help my students too. From there, one thing led to another. People start to say, you should do a DVD, you should do a workout DVDs. I'm like, workout DVD? I'm a dancer, I want to perform, I don't want to do workout DVD. My husband at the time said, no, we should do, and I will help you, because he's a musician and composer. So he created a DVD, this little DVD. I spent $5,000 in the DVD and some friendship, because I called all my friends that could hold the camera for me. Do you have a nice background that that I can use? Can I do in your house? He created this DVD, and the class already successful. I'm traveling, teaching my workshops, and I put on Amazon, because you can put anything on Amazon.com. And I was selling 5 a week. I was super happy. For me, it was successful already. But then I got a call from New York, from Weight Watchers magazine, 2 months after I put the DVD out. You want to feature your DVD for a company in your magazine? I'm like, could not believe it. I was amazed. So they featured the DVD, and that's how, in a national level, my company became known for that. For me, because we're so organic, what I say is follow your passion. I never knew that from dance I would get it in fitness, and I would get to create a company that I travel and I can talk about fitness, and I can talk about the physical aspects of dance, and then I can also see my students not only shape their physical, and feel good about themselves, but the mental attitude, empowerment that comes from dedicating to something that we love. So it's just follow your bliss. Know, for me, was education. When you know something, find your niche. if I was competing with other like regular exercise, that I say like aerobics, probably I would not be so fortunate in terms of success because it was not different enough. But the fact that I did Brazilian thing, that's something so exotic and different with what he had at the time here. At the time he didn't have Zumba or anything like that. It was like something really new. Probably I would not have, Weight Watchers would not have called me. But I think the most important is to follow your what you really love, find the education and start. It's like what you said, you just learn by doing it. I just learned even what I liked it by doing it. I didn't know that I liked to do that until I did it, and also I discovered what I didn't like it. So first is the passion and the education, and then the dedication. I don't like the word commitment. People talk a lot about in the fitness world about commitment. Commitment is a word that I shy away because it feels there is like no joy at all. You just committed because you committed. I like dedication, and you use that word too, and I liked it because it means that you have that passion and you can put the time that you need into the education. Try different things. In terms of outside success, I think marketing is also, you should learn about marketing and business from the beginning, or whatever you do. And I know you're out of time, so I leave it here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Great. I have a lot of thoughts about that. All the speakers we have, they always have a passion for what they do, and I love how you were saying, Susan, that you started doing this when you were a kid, basically. Well, we're going to get to hear from Ryan Byrne. He is the athletic director here on campus, and I am very excited to hear your story.
Thank you. Well, I think the common thread here is that the story of our careers all go back to childhood, and I mean I'm sure just about everyone has had some experience with athletics at some age, and I was someone who was participating in every sport I could possibly get into that my parents would let me, and so I played just about every single sport growing up. Tennis was a sport, although I played everything, tennis was something I was actually pretty good at and was dedicated to at an early age. But then I transitioned into playing football, and started playing football late. My first year ever starting in a football game was my senior year in high school, which is like unheard of for most people who end up moving forward. But I had a good experience with it, loved the camaraderie. Tennis was too individual for me, and I really enjoyed having other people rely on me and having that feeling of knowing that I had to get it done for other people. I love the camaraderie and working with others. So from football, I was able to continue to chase that passion at the community college level. So much like you, I started off at the community college level. I went to Santa Rosa Junior College in Northern California, and just kind of floated around taking GE classes. Was an average student, but was really passionate about football. After redshirting for 1 year, kind of learning, as my coach said at the time, whether the ball was pumped or stuffed, learning about the game, and then spent 2 years playing, had a pretty successful playing career, and then moved on, received a scholarship to Florida A&M University in Tallahassee, Florida. And that was a big culture shock, going to Tallahassee, Florida. I had sustained a season-ending injury when I was there, shoulder injury, and ended up having to have surgery. Came back to California. At that point, I was like, it's a long story with Tallahassee, but I wasn't a big fan of Tallahassee. I enjoyed California, grew up here, wanted to stay here. So I transferred to UC Davis, and I couldn't play football anymore anyway. And it was the best and worst thing that ever happened to me, because my dreams, illusions, whatever you want to call it, of playing in the NFL were now gone, and I was kind of left with, okay, well, now what? I was a business major at the time when I was at Florida A&M University, and I went to UC Davis, and at that point, I decided to change my track, and from some of the things that I was witnessing in Tallahassee and in the South, and with some of my friends who went to community college and were not doing well academically after they transferred, I got really into and curious about social inequality. And so I started, I majored in sociology at UC Davis. And I had always been passionate about athletics, but now I was also interested and deeply passionate about social inequality and what we could do to kind of make an impact some way. So as I completed my degree there, and I was coaching the whole time, I was part-time coach, just on the side. But as I completed my degree there, my goal was to transfer complete my master's degree in education, because I had decided that, if I'm going to have an impact on social inequality, it's going to be through education, through coaching, through athletics, because that's a carrot for so many people and a way of really pulling people out of a social situation that may not be positive for a number of different reasons. So I looked at athletics at that time, and I still do, as a program to improve your life choices, your life chances. By participating in intercollegiate athletics and by participating in athletics in general, I view that as an opportunity to improve your chances and choices in life. So that's went through my master's degree at UC Berkeley, completed my master's degree, went to work coaching. So first thing I thought of, okay, I want to start coaching, I want to start working with students right away. So I was coaching quarterbacks at Santa Rosa Junior College. I was kind of hustling to make money however I could on the side with part-time jobs. I got hired at Sonoma State University working in athletics there. And then I was also asked to come back to UC Berkeley to start teaching in their summer bridge program, which is a program really designed to help high school students transition from high school to college. And I was assigned student athletes. So all of the football players, all the basketball players, all of the people determined to be at-risk student athletes. So they all worked with me, and I'd helped prepare them to have a successful career at UC Berkeley. I taught in that program for 5 years. I worked at Sonoma State University for a couple years. I worked at Santa Rosa Junior College for about 7 years. Made the transition over to Diablo Valley College. I was hired as a football coach at Diablo Valley College. And I gotta say, in the background with all of this, these are job titles and these are different institutions, but the one thing that I was doing the entire time was saying yes to opportunities. People said, hey, you want to do this? You want to try that? Yeah, I'll do it. I didn't like everything, and both Susan and Vanessa both said, I found out what I liked and I found out what I didn't like, and it's so critical. But saying yes to things gives you an opportunity to find out if you like it or don't like it, and you get experience. You learn what the job is actually like. So ended up working at Diablo Valley College and kind of started to transition from just a coach to an administrator. So I was sort of a half coach, half administrator. Was an associate athletic director at Diablo Valley College, and really learned that side of things, which opened my mind to, hey, as a coach I can impact my players. As an athletic director, I can have an impact on all 400 student athletes. And again, going back to that social inequality approach, that was how I felt like I could have the biggest impact. So in spring of 2011, the position opened here, and I was probably the only one who applied for the job that was interviewed that didn't have experience as an actual athletic director. But you know what? I think the fit the people who were interviewing me in the institution saw that I was deeply passionate about student success and the power and the impact that we can have through athletics on student success, and that I had spent the past 10 years working to try and have that kind of an impact. And so again, it leads back to that passion thing. I was deeply passionate about it. I had a track record of doing it, and you know, although I was probably less experienced than a lot of other candidates, and I'm probably the youngest athletic director in the state of California at the college level, they took a chance on me, and hopefully they haven't been regretting it ever since. But so I've been here for just over a year now, and I love the institution, and they're completely in line with my beliefs in terms of being student-centered and student success and using education as a means of creating opportunities.
Perfect. I haven't heard any rumors that they're
No.
regretting their decision, so just so you know. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'm gonna just get right into it. I like to be student-centered too, so even though I have a bunch of questions, I'm gonna let you guys ask your questions. So anybody have any questions for any of our speakers individually or as a group, or should I start asking? Go ahead.
I have a question for Brian.
Mm-hmm.
So when you interviewed for this position, how important was your background in intercollegiate athletics?
Well, I think that it's sort of a prerequisite. I don't think I would have gotten an interview had I not had a track record. One of the things I always recommend for anyone is, if you're interested in a career, even if it's a career that you don't think that you could get into for 5 to 10 years or however long, look at the actual job description now. Look at someone who's hiring for that position now, and look at the requirements. And then all you got to do is each day just start plugging away to start taking steps toward that. And you may find after a few steps down the road, this isn't for me. But you never know. But yeah, if I had not had an experience in intercollegiate athletics, I wouldn't have gotten an interview. I mean, I wouldn't have gotten my foot in the door. So it's vital, and just to be completely blunt about it, I mean, if you read the job description, it would say, minimum qualifications, and that's what's on there. And if you don't meet those, you don't get through the paper screening, and you don't even get a chance to plead your case.
Another question?
But just to clarify on that, you don't need to be a student athlete in order to be an athletic director. I hope that if that was what you were asking, you don't need to have been an athlete yourself. I think that may help somewhat. Is that what you were saying? Okay, yeah, that wouldn't have impacted my chances, but you do need to experience working in athletics. Yeah, so you don't need to have been a student athlete.
I have a question about you got your MA in athletics and higher education. I didn't even know that was a degree you could get. How did you what made you decide to get that degree?
Well, first of all, it was buried. It was really hard to find. I mean, there was a really small program within UC Berkeley. I mean, if you go on the website, there's a ton of different programs that are really well advertised. This one was hard to find. And it's a really small cohort. There was about 12 people in the program. The program itself is really unique. No one really has a master's degree program that's like that. Very few places do. Athletic directors come from all different backgrounds. The most common track is usually through a kinesiology, physical education background, coaching, or business background, like an MBA type program, and working from that angle. But this was sort of a unique blend of teaching you how to be an administrator, teaching you how to be an advisor, looking at issues within athletics, the issues that you kind of struggle with in terms of participation for a student who may not be excelling academically. And do you pull them out of athletics to make sure that they continue doing well academically, or is that then ruining their motivation? And it's something that you struggle with, I struggle with every single day.
What's the answer?
There is no answer.
Yeah,
You know,
I think that's really tough.
Yeah, I mean, every student's different, and so it's really a matter of, it's a combination of like psychology, sociology, you know, and education, and really understanding motivation, what makes someone tick. And if being a participant in the program is the one thing that's keeping them in school, then you don't want to pull that away, because you know, even if they're not excelling academically, it's keeping them engaged, and it's more time to work on that student and show them something that they might get excited about. You know, the light bulb might not be on now, but who's to say that, you know, they stay in school a few months longer and it might turn on.
Great. Yes.
Yeah. Miss Isaac, what things do you do to keep yourself in focus to get things done?
What do I do?
Yeah, to meet keep your schedule, keep yourself rolling.
I think goes back to what we three talked about the passion. So I really don't have a schedules, like I have to do this and that, you know what I mean, to keep focused. I'm focused because I'm dedicated to what I do. So I take care of what I need to take care, and what my soul wants, aligned with the dance and helping people and being fit myself, so I can be a good example to my students and to the people that like my company and like what I do. So I don't. Is that what you're asking? Like,
Kind of, yeah. It's maybe sometimes difficult to keep on task, to knowing that you need to do this or do that to get to where you're headed.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Maybe,
I don't know
maybe
where I
a good
wanted
day
to
and
get
bad
ahead.
days,
I don't know sincerely when people say like it goes back. I don't know where I wanted to get.
Yeah.
I know what I wanted to share, and I want to empower people through my dance and being fit. And if this dance is something for you, I wanted to be that person that maybe have the opportunity to guide you there. So I don't know, like all the things that happened to me in my career was by taking opportunities, like you said, that were given to me and just following through. But I don't have like I don't have plans like I want to get there in 5 years.
Sure.
I think maybe because mine is a dance and art background, is really be in a moment, and that's how I keep it focused by following my muse.
Do you have an agent?
I know I don't have an agent.
I love that all of you were talking about just taking the opportunities that came up, and also about networking, especially you, Susan, were talking about the importance of networking. And I just want to know if one of you could, maybe you, Susan, can speak to what networking is, because I always want to have events that are called networking, like how to network, and nobody comes to those events basically because I think it's an important skill. But I think this is networking, and you know, I mean, now we're all networked to you. We know a little bit about you, and you know, we could come and say, hey, I saw you speak at Santa Barbara City College, and I was wondering if you might know somebody in the community who needs an intern or whatever, you know. So this is networking, but can you share with us some of your other thoughts on networking?
Sure. The first one, the example was that in my class, I have them figure out by doing an observation. But when it comes to someone that comes in interested in the field and they don't know where to start, and I say, well, are you sure you know what you want to do, or do you want to experience many different areas? And so I tell them, you know, you need, especially physical therapists, you know, I get a lot of people that are interested in physical therapy or personal training. And then I tell them, you know, just to apply to schools alone, you have to have so many hours in rehab, so many hours in hospital, so many hours in catastrophic, so many hours in geriatrics, so many hours in pediatrics. So the better your resume or your application looks and the amount of hours that you volunteered somewhere, the better off you're going to be. When my students who have an abundance of hours in sports, they can get denied because they don't have that well-roundedness. So I try to explain that, especially in my beginning class. I also teach the physical education internship class or work experience, and I get a lot of emails that way. You know, what does this class entail? Who can I go out to the community and get an internship? And so I've always generally, you know, given the opportunity, go into the YMCA, Boys and Girls Club, and expose yourself to many different aspects, whether it be with kids or an older program, or again, like in a gym, Spectrum and Santa Barbara Athletic Club, and volunteering your time or shadowing someone. Physical therapy office, typically they like you to shadow or intern versus, just going in there and trying to get a job. One of the things that in my field of athletic training, you can't go from a community college and get a job. You can't go from high school and you're interested in athletic training and get a job. You have to have a license or a certification. So it's a state board, just like nurses have to take certain state exams. So it's a stepping stone, and I have a lot of times when I talk to my students about get a 4-year degree in something and then move on if you want to get your master's. You don't have to get them in the exact same thing. And an example of myself, when I moved up here, I didn't have a job when I moved to Santa Barbara. And I went out to the high schools and I offered my services. I came here and offered my services as if you're ever sick, because there was only one athletic trainer at the time. If you're ever sick, here's my phone number. I met the athletic director, and it just so happens they called me one time and said, he's going out of town. Is there any possibility? No problem. I'll work. And for the profession of athletic training, you're not going to open the newspaper and find a job. It's who you know. They called me. I was like, I'm in, because I got a phone call from City College that said, apply for the job. And I was like, wow.
And more jobs are like that now. I mean, there are jobs listed, and you may go on Craigslist and you may find a job, but I would say more and more it's really connections. It's really knowing about the jobs before they get listed on Craigslist and knowing the people who are going to be offering them for all professions.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Yeah.
I had a question for you, Vanessa. You mentioned that you wanted to learn English when you came here. I'm just curious to know how big the language barrier was when you got here. How much English did you know?
I didn't know any English.
Nothing.
I came memorizing my name's Vanessa in airplane. And I had such a was hard and was beautiful, because being a dancer, what more, to have to communicate just with expressions. It was awesome. I mean, I wish I had the opportunity to do all over again.
You can go to Japan.
I know, or France. Well, it's really hard, but that's why I wanted to pursue theater at a time too, and I could not in the beginning, because it's like about opportunities to go back to that. So I could not be an actress in a play, so I got a job assisting an actress. So I would be in a theater and make networking and meeting different people. So I think everything goes back to that. But in terms of the English, I came to City College.
Okay.
Yeah. And I had a very hard time because my dad spoke English very well. My sister was very gifted. I was the child that had no gift for language, and I'm the one that came to the United States and had to learn.
Do you have a question?
Are you looking at me?
Yeah.
I'm wondering when you can have your networking class.
Oh, good. One person is signing up.
I'm like, how could nobody come?
All right. Well, I'm taking a note. That's excellent. No, I thought it would be fun to have like a kind of like a party almost, and say, okay, this is your job is to meet with some people. But networking, that always puts networking in the arena of the extroverts, and I don't think you have to be an extrovert to network. You can network, like by listening to people or by emailing people or doing a lot of different things.
I have no gift for networking. I mean, I'm good in other things, but I choke. It's like
in certain ways, but in other ways you've taken opportunities, and that's
but
networking.
one-on-one parties.
I would say the biggest thing for networking for me was not expecting to get paid. People will let you do things if you're not asking them to pay you. Okay? So, I mean, if you're, my first job coaching, I said, hey, I'd really like to coach. I talked to the head coach, and he says, okay, well, the first thing I need to tell you is you're not going to get paid. You still want to coach? And I said, absolutely. So that led into a whole path of a career based on willingness to do a bunch of part-time work so I could coach. And coaching is from, from about 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock. So it's kind of a prime time of the day. So like trying to figure out, like, and on weekends. So okay, how are you gonna make it work? So a bunch of part-time jobs, morning and evening.
That's another thing that I've heard from a lot of the presenters we've had, is that you need to get your foot in the door, you need to be willing to kind of sponsor yourself. And that goes for a lot of all the professions out there.
Question for Ryan. Can you give me some examples of your job description, particularly relating to like the sociological aspects?
I think that on my job description it should also read fireman or fire person, in that there's just stuff that comes up a lot, and so much of my job is a people job, and kind of trying to understand where they're coming from, how they're interacting with others, whether it's teammates, whether it's colleagues, whether it's parents and kids. I mean, so just trying to understand what their motivation is, and then reflecting also on, well, what is the mission of the institution? How am I going to help facilitate that mission into reality? So how can we make the best possible situation out of this? So in terms of the nuts and bolts of the job description, you know, ensuring a safe environment, making sure that you know, scheduling, and there's a bunch of mundane things within that, but the day-to-day duties really involve a lot of problem solving and a lot of working with people. And again, you have to be available, which means that, you know, probably 25 times a day people come knocking on my door saying, hey, have you got a minute? And you know, really, I mean, I have to say yes. Yeah, I do. Even though I you know, I've got 250 emails in my inbox, and I've got a spattering of to-do lists around, and like, but I just have to say yes, because that's my job. I have to, you know, sit down, talk, try and come up with a solution, solve a problem, and ultimately try and meet the mission of the institution in our own little way.
And communicate, sounds like, I mean, be able to communicate with people.
A ton of communication. And I think, I mean, communication and sociology, I mean, understanding where someone's coming from and what perspective they're coming from is really key. Even if they're not explicitly stating it, being able to kind of read between the lines and understand a dynamic that's going on. You know, one thing that's, you know, that I feel like race, class, gender, those things are really important and critical and real, and those are things that we deal with in athletics all the time. And I really think that athletics has the opportunity to, excuse the reference, but level the playing field in those areas if it's done correctly.
Yes.
I have kind of a general question to all of you. I wonder what's most important, education or work experience?
False dichotomy. It's not either or, it's both. I mean, it's the more experience you get, I think Susan really stated it right. Okay, I'm going to try and do this. Oh wait, I need to prepare myself more and get better at this. And so you kind of, it's a give and take. The more you learn, the more you realize you don't know.
Yeah, I mean, my first couple years out in the field on my own, I would call back to my faculty and be like, why didn't you teach me this? You know, and they say there's just not enough time to teach you everything. You got to learn something on your own. And it's those people that don't want to do that aren't successful, or they're not happy. And it's the people that are passionate about it that just continue to do that. And that's huge, you know, because in my field, the medical field is always changing. And, you know, back when I was in school, it took 18 months to rehabilitate an ACL. Now it takes 6. Why? You know, and so there's so many changes, and you have to stay up to date.
But I think this question speaks really well to doing internships while you're in school and volunteering while you're in school, because then it's going to energize you for your classes. You know, it may seem like more work that you're taking on, but it's going to energize you. You're going to be like, oh, I get why I need to have that anatomy class now, or I get why I need to actually you know, learn to do a business plan or whatever it is, you know, it will work hand in hand. And it's actually one of the things that recent college graduates say that they wish they had done, is they wish they had done some internships or some volunteer work while they were in school instead of doing that after they finished their education. And the other thing I just want to share with you, we just had a job fair, and I asked all the employers, I said, what are the 3 skills you're looking for? And these are across all kinds of employers, and they said communication skills, knowing how to talk to people and do that. A willingness to learn, which I think all of you touched on in some way. And, oh, I can't remember the other one. Communication skills, willingness to learn. Oh, and dedication. When you were all talking about dedication, and dedication, which I think, you know, can manifest in a lot of ways, showing up on time or, you know, just being there. So, yes?
I was just gonna comment that now's the time while we're young to do an internship, because when you get older, you can't afford it.
It's harder.
You can't just volunteer your time if you have to make enough money to pay rent and send a month.
It's much harder, yeah. One of our speakers said, fail big while you're young, because you have less to lose.
And you learn more from failing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Failing is like the best thing that could ever happen to you if you're young enough.
And
I'm
if you're
still
willing to
learning
learn
that
from
one.
it.
Any more questions?
For Vanessa, probably just like tips on the best ways to build a client base and start up a small business.
My path, as I said, was word of mouth, and I was really dedicated again to be the best that I could be. When I got to the point that I noticed that I could, you know, even have more success in terms of clients, then I hired a PR person, and I learned from all my failures, and I went to business school. I did as much as I could, so I had that background too on where to go to find my clients. What I did mostly was through teaching and teaching workshops for free. I would offer my service, like is that, hey, can I teach here? Can I have something to, you know, different that I want to show? And with that, I taught networking, meeting people. And then when I had the money, when my business was already successful, I hired a PR person, and that's in their court, you know, guys, like they live with that. People that are experts in doing that. Now I don't have any more publicists, but at the time I had it 3 years ago. So does it help?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Did you notice a big difference in how much you sold after you hired a PR person?
What gave me more opportunities after, you know, I had Weight Watchers in the national level. I got like on CNN and I got on Fox TV, and gave me opportunities in the national level of meeting people and being offered different jobs, teaching and performing, because I also perform dance still. So that's what it gave. Like in terms of sales, was the same. This DVD, the first one that I did, is like doesn't die. Has been selling 5 years and is still like selling. Then I created 2 other, did so, but the first one is like has been selling for 5 years and doesn't change the numbers really much. It's steady, yeah.
Yes, Lydia, do you have a question?
Well, it's not a question, it's just a comment. I'm so impressed with all of you, with how you did what you loved, you did what it took to get involved, whether it was, you know, volunteering or moving to a new country or whatever. You did something that you cared about, that you were passionate about, and you stretched yourself. You know, you would try new things, you would meet people, you would keep moving forward because you picked something that you loved so much, that you were so interested in. And I think that's the key piece that we always try to tell students on the counselor here, and it's like, you know, letting students know, yeah, do something that you really care about, because anything you go into is going to take a lot of work. And if you really want to do something that really matters to you, you're going to have to love it, because there's a lot of, you know, like you said, there's a lot of dedication, there's a lot of volunteering your time, there's a lot of extra hours, there's a lot of hard work, there's a lot of classes you have to take, there's a lot of certifications you have to go through. But look what you end up with. You end up with a life you love, you know, with just radiance coming out of you that, you know, you get to do this every day. You probably feel very lucky and blessed and whatever, but yet you work super hard. And the payoff is huge. I mean, the money is nice, but it's more getting to do what you really love in life that really matters, and it's the quality of your life and just all of that. So not everybody has that kind of passion for something, but I'd say if anybody does, to put the effort in and make it work for you, because you can look at, you know, the quality of life that you get to have as a result of that.
Yeah, and all the people that we've had in this lecture series, no matter if they're automotive or sales or entrepreneurs or health and fitness or sports and fitness, the two things I've noticed is they all have a passion for what they do, which often started very young, and they all work harder than anybody I know. You know, so it's, you know, there's the formula. If you want the formula for success, that's what I've noticed anyway.
Well, and one thing is, you know, some people think, well, you know, I'm getting up there and I still can't figure it out. You know, what do I, you know, you just have to dabble in everything to figure out what you really think. I have friends that have 4 different majors and have keep changing, and they don't know, and then all of a sudden they find it. And it may take that long for some people. Well, why didn't it take you that long? Well, you know, everyone's different. And it may be something that it was from your childhood and you never really identified it. And then now you can bring it back to that area. So just be really, really open.
That's something I wanted to follow up on too, is it was right in front of my face for so long and I didn't realize it. You know, I never thought I was going to be a coach or work in athletics. I was just like, oh, that's just what I do. That's just the thing that I like to do. But I need to focus on, you know, being a business major, or, you know, it was very abstract to me as to like what I was going to do. What's my career going to be? Am I going to be a lawyer? Am I going to be working business? You know, I was always looking at all these other things and these careers, when in reality it was sitting in front of my face the entire time.
I think Joseph Campbell, the American mythologist, said it best, follow your bliss. And I love that phrase because that's so true, and sometimes you don't know where you're going to end up and how everything's going to connect, but for me it was like that, follow your bliss and take opportunities to, because if you live in a country that you can speak your mind and you have a warm bed, you have access to education, you have more than a lot of people in the world has. So you can explore, you can learn, you can fail, you can succeed. I failed so many times, you know. I'm not one thing that I can talk about myself, I'm not afraid of failing and just learning from that and pick myself up. Okay, I try again, I try different, I learned this from, and then share with people what you learn. So
are all of you parents?
Mm-hmm. I am.
I'm not. I'm a stepmom, so which is.
I was just wondering how that kind of throws a little bit of a wrench into a career sometimes.
It didn't throw it into mine just because it's only been the last 10 years. I mean, I have a stepdaughter who's 20, so I did deal with that. But I saw my friends who had children young and their education had to stop.
Yeah.
And they had to go to work. But majority of them went back eventually.
Right. So
and
you had already had your career before you had your child.
Right.
That makes a difference.
Yeah, it does. And I see that, and I've talked about that a lot to friends from high school and, you know, their paths. But majority of them took their time that they needed and then they went back and found their passion. So it has to be a drive within someone. And yeah, like you said, the older you get, the harder to be able to support a family and maybe find your passion. But even if it's a slow chipping away process, you can do it.
I'm going to have us close here. I really want to thank all 3 of you for coming. It was really great. I always leave these evenings super inspired. So thank you so much for coming. Please fill out your evaluation form, and thank you all for coming as well. Good night.